Well, good evening, everybody. It's the Average Bulb making a video here for you. Let's see, I'm in the truck. I'm in Princeton, Illinois, on my way to Iowa in the morning. Left Pennsylvania, went 630 miles, made it here to Princeton. I still got 200 some miles to go in the morning and make my delivery and head back. So figured I'd make a video, and I think we're going to make this one about trucking. I've been doing this for 37, 38 years. I don't know, I started in, what was it, 1989, and I've seen a lot of changes over the years, some good, some bad, and something I think about a lot, being that I'm older and getting down to the end of it, and I think, would I do this again if I had the chance? If I was starting all over again, would I choose to do this? And I gotta say no, I don't think I would. Now, I've never been without a job. I've quit jobs, I've been fired from jobs, I've been laid off from jobs, and I've always, one good thing about trucking, there's always been a demand for trucking as long as you had experience and had a good record, or even if you have a bad record, you could find a job somewhere. So, that part's been good. Always had income. Even during the shutdowns and everything, kept working. Hauled milk all during the shutdowns. But so there's never been a lack of work. That's probably the opposite in trucking. There usually, from what I've found, there's not a lack of work. You have slow times and busy times, but you usually have, as a truck driver, you will work 1.5 times or twice as much as the average person at an average job. A 40-hour-a-week job. Maybe they get some overtime. Yeah, you will work. You'll work. Well, the law says you're allowed to work up to 70 hours a week, and most companies that I have worked for push it to that limit. They'll get you as close as they can. They'll run you over it, and then you got to figure that out, how you make that work. That's up to you. And it's always been like that. I've had jobs when I first started out, before computers and all that, where, they work you 80, 90 hours a week, and you just fudged your log books and made it work. And most jobs, you're not getting paid by the hour. If you are getting paid by the hour, the government says you don't have to get time and a half. So you're working however many 70 hours a week at straight time. So overall, over the years, trucking has taken up a lot of my life. It's taken up a lot of my time. And although I've had steady paychecks, you're not compensated, fairly for the hours that you work. Over-the-road jobs, very rare that you're going to get paid by the hour. You're going to get paid by the mile, or you're going to get paid, by the load, or you're going to get paid percentage or something. And if they all, what an unwritten law is, you don't ever figure out what you're making, by the hour when you're on the road getting paid, some sort of percentage or mileage or whatever, because and I've done it. I've figured it out, and it'll upset you because you'll find out that you're making minimum wage or below for the hours you work compared to what you get paid. The only redeeming factor that it has is there's lots of work. So you make a good paycheck, but for the hours you work, it's not, you're not compensated fairly, usually. Now, there's exceptions I've had over the years. I've worked for common carriers. I've found out I think I've said in another video, the best jobs to have are working for a company where you're driving that company's truck, a company that produces a product. They have their own trucks, and you go deliver the product that the company that you work for makes, or you're picking up stuff to bring back. But working for a company that produces something is, always, a better job. Right now I have a really good job. I'm paid very fairly for what I do. I'm paid by the hour. I have my schedule is a mixture of home every day and over the road. Some weeks I'm home every single day. Other weeks I might spend 2-3 nights at the most in the truck. Some weeks one night, but I get time and a half after 40 hours, which is almost unheard of in trucking. So this job, I'm treated very, very fairly, but these jobs are rare. Or be a little thirsty. So for that reason, if I had it to do all over again, I probably wouldn't choose trucking. I would try to learn a trade or something, become a plumber or a carpenter, or something where you go to a job and you go home and you're paid by the hour and you get overtime, and I would do something like that. I don't regret certain aspects of my career. I've seen a good bit, almost all of this country. The 48 states. I've seen just about all of them. I think North Dakota's one I never made it to, but so and that's that. At first, that was exciting and adventurous, and and I still enjoy it to a point now. Getting out, seeing something different. I'm not the type of person. The trucking suits the type of person that can't work in a cubicle or in an office with no windows. I would have a very hard time doing that. So getting out and about, every day in the truck, is my, I like to be outside. I can't be cooped up. So that suits my personality. But then, after a while, you've seen the places, and you're going back to, Chicago for the 200th time. And it's not so much fun after you've been there 200 times. Places like Chicago is not so exciting anymore. Chicago, New York City. Luckily, I don't go there, and I just went through the south of Chicago, but I don't do too much of that anymore. But you still, no matter where you go, this is a downside of trucking. No matter where you go, even on a local job, nowadays it's hard to avoid traffic. You're gonna hit traffic. Almost no matter what you do, unless you have a job, you stay out in the country. But if you get anywhere near a city, you're going to hit traffic. And the amount of construction now that they do, it seems crazy. You can't avoid construction anymore. So, that's a downside. So, I'm trying to make, I try to keep things positive in my life, and I'm trying to not be completely negative in this video. But, you gotta be, I'd say you really have to be a special type of person to do this job. And, you gotta be independent, you gotta be able to work on your own, you gotta, like being out and about. You gotta have some patience, when you get in construction and traffic and such, and dealing with people on the road, which that's something I've seen, change a lot in the 30, plus years that I've been doing this. I mean, there's always been idiots on the road, they've always been there. But I think I've seen, it's like people don't have a fear anymore. They drive crazy. It's like they're invincible. And then, I think the attitude on the road has followed, the attitude of the country. It's like people aren't as nice anymore. They don't want to let you over. They'll cut you off. They'll make sure you can't get over. People used to, let truck drivers over. They used to wave at you. Now they wave one finger. And I've seen that change a lot. People just aren't nice, and they drive crazy. And accidents now, it's like, when there's an accident, it's usually pretty bad, because usually it involves somebody going way too fast, So, and sometimes they only, wreck their car, but most of the time they take some others with them. And it doesn't, it's not usually good. So, that's one thing I've seen change a lot. It's just the people. It's the way of the world. The people just in the world, all over, just people. Well, and I don't know. I think people just don't seem as nice altogether. But something about people, they get in their vehicles, and it's just like, I don't know, because they're in a little bubble, and and then everybody's like got to get to where they want to go, and they don't consider other people. It's all about them doing what they want to do, getting where they want to go, and get out of my way, and got to go. So that's changed a lot. And and trucking is changing more and more every day. I've seen a lot of changes in the past, let's say, 10, 15 years with the electronics coming in, the computers, the electronic log. The electronic log has been good and bad for trucking, for truckers. Before electronic logs, you had a paper logbook, and it was good in a way, but it was also bad. For the when I was on the road with a paper logbook, I mean, it was because you're supposed to you're supposed to be truthful in that and everything, but it was just part of the job. You just make up a story on the logbook, try to get as many hours as you can get out of the day. So you lied on your logs, and was common to use two different logbooks. When you ran out of hours, you had another one that, you made it work so you could just keep going. And sometimes three different logbooks. So, and dispatchers back then would just throw loads at you. And it would seem completely insane, what they would want you to do. And it was up to the driver to figure it out, and make it work. And, that's where lying on your logbook came in. With the ELDs, it sort of turned things around where, now the dispatchers have to, they got to think about what they're going to give a driver, because, there's no lying on the ELD. It's sort of like turning over one of them hourglasses. Once you log on duty, it just ticks down the time. So you only have, you only have so much time to get done what they want you to get done. So they got to think about, now they got to think, oh, what am I going to give him? I can't just throw loads at him and expect him to do it, because the ELD won't let him. So that's, that's good for the driver in a way. Excuse me, but yeah, that's good for the driver in a way, but it also sometimes it limits you. When I'm on the road, I don't want to, stop. I want to keep going. When I'm home, when I'm home every day, I want to go home, in a decent amount of time. So, so that, on the road, you might find yourself sitting around in the truck, because you got to get your 10 hours off on the computer. You can't lie about it. With the old paper logbooks, you might take 6 hours off, or sometimes 2 hours off. It depends on how hard you wanted to run, and you just didn't, I might make a video about that later, but I don't, my personal belief on the electronic logs is they don't make things safer. They don't, because once again, it's like turning over an hourglass. And once I start, I log on duty on that log, ELD, then it's like tick-tock all day long. You have, 11 hours driving, and you have 14 hours total that you can work. So, it's like everything's hurry, you don't lollygag nowhere. You got to take a half-hour lunch break sometime during the day. But, everything else is rushed. You're in a hurry, and you don't want to stop, and maybe, you get tired, and you get a little drowsy. But you don't want to, maybe you do go ahead and take a nap, but you don't want to take you might take like a 15-minute nap, because you don't want to lose time. So, on the paper logs, you just start on the paper, and maybe you get tired. Well, you know what? I'm going to take an hour nap or 2 hour nap. I'm going to get rested, because it's not tick-tock. I can, make it work on my logbook. And even though I might be lying on my logbook, hey, I'm more rested because I got a nap, I might, and, I don't know, I know very few, or if any, I can't think of anybody that I know that gets 8 hours sleep a night. Most are like 5, 6, 7 at the most, I seem to function good on 6 hours, so 10 hours off, doesn't mean you're getting 8 hours of sleep. So, but then you start, and then say you can't sleep, and then you go on duty on that log. Now you're tired, but you don't want to take a nap, because you're going to, run out of time on your ELD. So I don't believe they've made things safer. I don't believe that at all. and they haven't. To me, I don't know what the statistics are, officially, but take a look around. I mean, there's just as many or more accidents than there's ever been, and I think a lot of that, not all of it, but I think a good bit of that has to do with ELD and guys just pushing because they don't want to stop and relax and take a nap or something. So yeah, I'm gonna make some videos about trucking because it's something that I know. I've done it for, like I said, since 1989. So I think I will do some videos about it. But to sort of sum this one up, yeah, if I had to choose again what to do with my life, I think I'd have chose something else. And just, especially now, it's not what it used to be. When I started, it was still sort of like a cowboy thing, it's like truck drivers were, king of the road, and, there was a certain amount of romance to it still. You got it was you and your truck, and you roamed the countryside, and delivered loads, and it was, an adventure, and, and then there was a lot more skill involved back then, I think, because the trucks were, harder to drive, and, you had to sort of know what you were doing. Now they have these automatic trucks, with all kinds of alarms. You cross a line, it's beeping at you. You get too close to people, it's beeping at you. It's it's for somebody that started out with none of that, it's very hard to put up with all that. Thank God this truck doesn't have it. And it's got a manual transmission here. I can shift my own gears. And whenever you've learned how to correctly shift trucks, and then you get an automatic, it's very frustrating because an automatic is not going to shift where you would shift as a professional truck driver who knows how to shift. I don't know, automatics have their, maybe I'll do a video about that. They have their advantage in traffic, that's for sure. No clutch to hold down, but I don't like them. So, I hate to complain, about something that I've done for so long. But, honestly, I've made, I've done it this long because most of the years, after a certain amount of years, I don't know, it's like I didn't know what else to do, and I don't. Now I'm still trying to find that thing, to replace it. Maybe I need to, just keep making YouTube videos. Maybe I'll become a YouTube star. I don't know. But, I'm watching videos that say just make videos, so I'm just going to make videos. Anyways. But yeah, for a lot of years I've just done it because I don't know what else to do. It's like, this is what I do, and I never, learned another skill, and and then there's a fear part, because it's like, well, if nothing else, I can pay my bills with trucking. I know there's the work, but it's twice as much work as what I want to do, but, so it's a trade-off. You trade off your time for security, I guess, because always been, always had paychecks, just, but I've lost a lot of time in my life, and you can't get back. And now I'm, going to be 60 this year, and it's like, wow, I wish I had some of that time, So, I guess to sum this up, I would probably, if I knew, young 21-year-old me, I'd have, knowing what I know now, I think I'd have chose something else. Because but a young guy. It was adventurous. It was sort of romanticized, and I like I started into it, and it's like, well, I'm going to do this, and after a while, it's just like, well, this is what I do. So yeah, I would I think I would learn a trade if something where I was home every day. So yeah, there'll be more videos to come. This is just sort of an overall touching on things here, but yeah. So I'm gonna say goodbye for now, and God bless you all. I will make another video soon, I promise. I know I'm not doing good at this YouTube thing. It's been quite a while, but now I'm kind of committed. I'm going to do this, so I'll be seeing you more often. All right. Have a good night, everybody. God bless you. Bye.